Hey guys, welcome to Q&A number 5. I've got my oversized service dog Buddy here so that you guys have something to look at other than me. And for today, we're going to be doing the first 10 questions that hit my inbox when I put the little question box up. I have not looked at what these questions are, so I'm a little bit nervous because I'm going to be honest with you and I'm actually going to answer the first 10. I'm not going to cherry pick. So, I don't know what we're talking about today because I haven't looked, but I'm excited to get into it. My reason for doing the first 10 questions is actually pretty dumb. I was laying in bed and I was like, Q&A number 5, I feel like we need a theme. I definitely want to do things like this or that, or would you rather, stuff like that. If you have other ideas, put those in the comments. But for today, I was like, 5, what do I know that has to do with 5? There's like high five, but... And then my brain and its connections, my birthday is 5/10. That's literally where this came from. It's months away, but my birthday is 5/10. So for Q&A 5, we're doing first 10. This is a channel all about how my brain doesn't work right, so don't question it. This is awesome. No, stay. Good boy. It's too hot for you, huh? I'm sorry. All right, guys, first 10 questions. Let's do this. Oh, I'm nervous. You guys better have been nice to me. Okay, first question is, we're going to crop that out. Buddy, we're on camera and it's not that kind of video. Question number 1, how do you deal with anxiety? Poorly, honestly. Anxiety is really my arch nemesis. Anxiety is the thing that gets me the worst out of like anything. And I think it's because of how much tachycardia I get. Speaking of the devil, thank you, bud. Good check. That means I think my heart rate's probably high right now. Enough's enough. Good boy. Yeah, my pulse is a little bit high. I think really the best thing you can do about anxiety is try to identify what it is that's making you anxious, because that's really the only way to get where you want to be. For me, I just think the best way to deal with it is to try to fix it the best you can and try to not be your own worst enemy. And really just taking time for yourself to cool down. Even if it's just 5-10 minutes of laying down on the couch to recenter yourself and make sure that you're in your right mind. Breathe a few times, enjoy it, realize the sensation of the air coming in and out. It makes you remember that you're alive and this is special, this is precious. And also, buddy, stop it. This isn't OnlyFans. Also, just trying to... Buddy, you're driving me cray. Thank you. Thank you. I know my heart rate's high. Good, buddy. Shoot. Well, now I forgot what I was going to say, bud. Shoot. Looks like I'm declining pretty quickly here. Buddy is being insistent. I'm going to say about being anxious. Oh, yeah. The other thing I was going to say about being anxious is my anxiety really spikes when I'm not taking care of myself. So even though when I'm anxious, that's the time when I least want to take care of myself, I think that's the time when it's the most important. So make sure that you brush your teeth before you go to bed, even if you're not feeling up for it. Make sure that you take 2 minutes to go outside and breathe some fresh air for once. That's very important. Take your vitamins, drink your water, eat your meals even if you don't want to. I mean, that's stuff that I struggle with. But those are some things that I'm trying to do better at. Because, yeah, anxiety is a beast. You're too tall now. All right, let's move the camera. You guys ready? Guess we're doing it like this. Oh. Gosh, buddy. Not a question, but you should start doing weekly vlogs. It would be interesting to see how your migraines differ from day to day and see more of the cutie baby. I do really love that idea, and I wish that I could hire a personal assistant to just walk around and film me and then edit it later, but I don't have the means to film a lot right now. I just don't. The baby's a lot, and you guys know that I'm being evaluated for a CSF leak right now, so one of the things that comes along with potentially a CSF leak, I'm not self-diagnosing, but when I lean forward, it is one of my symptoms that I get this discharge in my nose, and the more I do what I call up-downs, I've always called them up-downs, even though they're down-ups. How did this sentence start? I don't know. And the more I do up-downs, the more symptomatic I get, the more my nasal stuff goes, and ever since the baby was born, it's just on crack. So, as always, I gave you the long answer, but long story short, I can't yet, but maybe in the future. Buddy, Buddy, now I'm literally spooning a dog bed. You just left me hanging. I'm spooning a dog bed, and this is going to be on the internet forever. Is this going to become a Migraine Jen meme? Like, I'm so confused that I can't figure out which bed is mine, and I can't figure out how to get into the bed. All right, Bud picked a new spot. It's here. Let's move on. Question number 3. I'm counting that as a question because I'm taking it as like, can you do weekly vlogs? The answer is not yet, maybe later. Number 3, is there something else you want to train Buddy to do? Yes, I want to teach him how to crawl. I know that's really weird, but crawl, like when they go down and they're crouching low and they move forward like that. I don't know why I want to teach him to crawl, but I have 2 guesses. 1, when I was a kid, I used to dog sit my neighbor's golden retriever. His name was Aries, and I didn't know him until he was an old dog, but she showed me that he knew how to crawl. Before that, I didn't know that dogs could do more than sit down and sometimes smell diabetes. You know, I didn't understand the intricacies of what dogs could really do. So for me, crawl was like the epitome of dog intelligence, and like only the coolest dogs know how to crawl. And then there was one other story. Oh yeah, when the quarantine first started, my brother and his awesome girlfriend taught their dog how to crawl. And I was like, man, that's so smart. Like, use this quarantine time to do extra training with the dog. And Buddy loves playing and stuff too. Like, for him, training is like a fun activity. So I want to teach him how to crawl. 1, 2, 3, 4. Question 4 is, how are you? Honestly, I'm a roller coaster right now, guys. For a really long time, for like 5 years, I've had this idea. Well, I don't want to say 5 years because 5 years was my symptom onset. But for many years, I've been in this homeostasis with my migraines. For many years, I felt like I understood how my life was gonna go. How my life is, how my brain works, what my triggers are. Like, I reached this point where I was like, you know what, I'm having a lot of migraines. They're coming every day, but I've got a good handle on, just like, at least it's predictable. My mental health was strong. I had accepted everything. I mean, you guys know all of that. But with the baby and the leaking getting worse and me realizing that this might have just been a leak this whole time, it's really messing with my psyche, and especially because it happened during the 3rd trimester of pregnancy. So I've been either 3rd trimester of pregnancy or immediately postpartum. I'm only like 2.5 months postpartum, with the knowledge that this might be curable. And you guys know I have been through a lot with this. So I'm on a roller coaster, super anxious and depressed. Don't worry, I am okay. I'm not any kind of severe PPA or PPD. I'm not at risk of harming myself. Everything's fine in terms of that. I just know that I'm processing a lot right now. And it's important for me to point out now too, even though it's a darker patch right now, I also realize that this is just a valley. I'm just in a valley right now. It will pass. The newborn stage is supposed to be hard even if you don't have chronic illness. So I know that it's just that, yeah, my brain's like trying to process everything. And I feel like I make progress processing stuff, and then I forget because that's the nature of my condition. So, 2 steps forward, 1.8 steps back because I don't remember so much of it. So I come to the same conclusions a lot over and over, and it's just something that I need to do. Migraine Jen is really behind in processing from normal Jen, so I feel like normal Jen is feeling good, and Migraine Jen is still having trouble going through it. Migraine Jen is having a lot of trouble processing everything that's going on, and I'm Migraine Jen for more than half of the time that I'm awake. So, yeah, it's weird because it's like a childlike level of emotional intelligence, I would say. So it's taking a long time. What question are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Will your husband be joining us in any Q&As? Yes. I don't know when yet. I think we're probably going to do a whole Q&A about my husband, or maybe a whole Q&A with my husband, and then we'll have a Q&A to follow up you guys having questions about him. Or we might decide to introduce him as, like, here's what happened with his voice and what made him mute, because that's another rare disorder that would be good to, like, get out. He also took, like, 2-3 years to diagnose, even though he couldn't talk. So that's something that we want to make a video about anyway for any of you guys who might know somebody who's going through that too. So I'm thinking maybe we'll do that as a Friday video, and then we'll have him on for a Q&A later. Or it's possible that we'll just invite him for a Q&A, and then a month later we'll do another Q&A with him or something like that. But I know you guys are like dying to meet him, so we're just trying to figure out when and how is the right time to bring him in for you. Number 6, do you ever feel guilty when your husband has to help you? If yes, how do you deal with it? Yeah, I feel guilty all the time, and really the only way that I know how to cope with it is to acknowledge the feeling in my own head and sit with it and process it, try to realize why I feel guilty about it. I don't feel guilty because I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I feel guilty because my disability is impacting his life. I tend to not feel guilty for the fact that I have this disease because I know that that's not my fault, but I definitely feel guilty about the impact that it has on other people. So I reconcile that by apologizing for the impact that it has. That way I can clear my conscience. I can make sure that they know that I'm really appreciating them and that I feel bad that they're being impacted like this. And my husband, thankfully, is very understanding. So usually when I tell him, like, hey, thank you, that's another thing. Thank you so much for all the help that you did last night. I'm sorry that I didn't do very well being attentive, or I'm sorry that I didn't do very well keeping conversation. I know that I was really frustrating last night because I wasn't able to remember. Or maybe I'll tell him, last night I was really trying to listen and pay attention, and I'm really sorry that I wasn't able to. I felt like I was kind of ignoring you. And, just recognizing my own faults, apologizing, owning up. Migraine Jen can only do so much. I've got to give her grace, and that's all I can do. But it took time to get there. You really need to be introspective, think about what you can and cannot help, and what is and is not healthy to hold on to. And I just communicate with my husband as much as I possibly can about the things that I'm feeling and what I feel is fixable or not fixable, or what I just need to get off my chest. That was number 6, I think. Number 7 is, would you consider getting another dog right now or in a couple of months? No, not anytime soon. As long as Buddy is a service dog, I don't want to have another dog. I think things are also just too busy with the newborn. It's not worth it. I'd rather give him all my attention, give the baby all my attention, and not add anything else to the plate. Except Tuesday Q&As, obviously. I added this to my plate. Number 8, how did you come up with the baby's name? So my husband and I had a name picked out a couple of years ago, and then got pregnant at the beginning of 2020. I was thinking that maybe that name that we had chosen would become that baby's name. And unfortunately, we ended up miscarrying that baby. So then when we got pregnant again with our rainbow baby girl that you guys have seen a few times, we considered using that name, but it no longer felt right. So what we did instead was we took every ethnicity that makes up me and makes up him, and we started looking up traditional names from those countries to see if we could find one that was sort of a unique take on a name that we see here in America, but that was a little bit different, easy to spell still, easy to pronounce, but just a little bit of spice. So that's how we picked it. We're like, oh, I'm English and Swiss, so let's look up English and Swiss names that are popular and see if we like any of those. Call out to our families. Number 9, advice for people in their medical journey and regrets you've had after appointments. You snuck 2 questions in. I respect that. I'm going to answer both. 9A, advice for people in their medical journey: don't give up. But that it's okay to take mental breaks. I've done it. It kind of sucks in hindsight because I'm like, man, I shouldn't have taken 2 months off of pushing for doctor's appointments, because that's 2 months that I could have saved if this did end up being curable. But the thing is, in order to keep pushing and keep researching and keep contacting doctors, it just takes up a lot of your time and spoons that you don't have. So my advice would be, don't be so caught up in finding a cure and getting better that you forget to live your life right now. There are opportunities that you're missing if you're only focused on getting better, or if you're only focused on avoiding your triggers. So in conclusion for that, advice for people in their medical journey: know that it's a marathon, not a sprint. I think that's the easiest way to consolidate everything that I'm feeling. Be ready for the long haul, be present for the process, but don't wear yourself out when you're too early in the game. 9B, and regrets you've had after appointments. The only time in my life that I ever really feel regret is if I snap when I shouldn't, or when I say something rude when the person is intending to be polite. Now, I mentioned in my video last Friday that I'm very fast with comebacks. If someone says something, I can say the most snarky, spiteful thing back, rapid fire. And I almost never do. Ever, because it's very rude to do. It's not something that I'm proud of. I'm just a really fast thinker. If you tell me a pun, I will catch the pun. Especially not Migraine Jen, very fast on her feet. Usually it's actually kind of a little bit funny, but I don't end up saying it. So The only times that I have regrets are when the doctor says something like calling me honey, like the doctor that I talked about last week, and then I say, don't call me honey, stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, that came out a little bit mean. I shouldn't be so impulsive. So that's really the only regret that I typically go home with. The only other thing I regret is when I don't ask about something that I meant to and I simply forgot. So it's good to have your notebook, have like your whole list of questions that you thought of ahead of time. And like as the doctor's talking, you can jot down notes about what follow-up questions you have, that kind of stuff. And then that way you don't end up with that regret. We can email now too though. That's really nice. You know, most of them have their online portals. Very last question, number 10. Do you feel mentally different when you are in a migraine? Oh yeah, absolutely. However, I don't always recognize that I'm in a migraine, and that's part of the importance of having the migraine alert dog. And I know that sounds really, really crazy if you've never had a migraine, or especially if you've never had a complex migraine. Like, how can you not tell that you're having a migraine, right? But the thing is, I'm symptomatic most of the time, so I might just be having a symptomatic day and I'm not actually going to go into a full attack. Or sometimes I'm so forgetful that I literally forget that I'm having a migraine. Like, I'll be listening to something and it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, oh right, it's because I have a migraine. But then I'll play it again and I still don't get it and I don't understand why I get it. And my husband will be like, hey honey, it's because you have a migraine, remember? Oh yeah, I have a migraine. Or like Buddy will alert me and then I'll forget that he alerted me. My husband will ask me if he alerted me and I'll say, maybe. What was the question? You know, Buddy did alert me like 15 minutes ago twice. He was alerting a lot. I think I'm getting a migraine. Buddy, can you come check? Come here. Not yet? Okay, thank you. Good check. You want to go check on your sister? Buddy wants to go check on the baby. He hears her crying. All right, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Go check on her. Are they cousins? Are they siblings? I mentioned it earlier in the video, but Migraine Jen is more emotionally immature and she takes longer to process emotions. I'm having some trouble talking. I'm definitely getting into a migraine here now, but when I was pregnant, I went through a bunch of different emotions. You go through like, oh my gosh, I'm having a baby, or oh my gosh, delivery is coming up and I'm getting really nervous. And what I found is that normal Jen would feel those things and would process them and feel okay later. And then like 2 months later, Migraine Jen would finally start feeling those things. So I think it was like 30 weeks along. Normal Jen was like, oh my gosh, we're in the 30s, the baby's gonna be born. And by 32 weeks, I was like, I'm ready, I can do childbirth, I've got this, bring it on. I'm like feeling rearing and ready to go. It wasn't until like 34 weeks, 35 weeks, I think it was maybe even when I was in the hospital with my premature contractions, that Migraine Jen was finally like, I have to give birth. And like Migraine Jen would go around being like, I hope normal Jen has to give birth. I don't want to give birth. Panicking a little bit because she hadn't processed those emotions. So it's kind of weird. A lot of people ask me during pregnancy if Migraine Jen really understood what was going on. And yes, she completely understands. It just takes her a lot longer to figure out how to look at it from a logical and mature point of view and not one that's overly emotional or like a sensitive topic to her. Okay, let me fix this camera because I'm slouching. Alright guys, that's it. That is the first 10 questions that I got today for Q&A number 5. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up and let me know what ideas you have for other Q&As down in the comments below. I really hope that I actually did answer 10 questions and I hope that I numbered them in order, but there's a chance when I'm editing here it's gonna be like, ooh, question number 3, question number 8, question number 7. Now we're on 9, right? So if that happened, please don't make fun of me in the comments. I did my best. Love you guys. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you on Friday.